Hey guys, okay, this is the video that one of you asked for. Just kidding. One of you guys asked for, and I realized during filming my last train with me, or one of my most recent train with me's, I realized that I really need to talk about this topic. And the topic is roommate stories. I am so excited for this because I have so many crazy roommate stories that need to be shared with the public. If for some weird reason you are listening to this roommate story and it's about you, know that I love you. I hold no shade, okay? I'm gonna preface this video by saying I was not a perfect roommate. I feel like college is this crazy time. If you haven't had the chance to go to college yet, if you're younger, or if you did go to college but you went online and maybe you didn't ever have roommates, I'll just say don't be afraid. Having roommates is honestly, there are so many pros to having roommates, and I had so many great, fantastic roommates, but nobody wants to hear about that because that's freaking boring. I will say I am fully aware, just so you don't think I'm perfect, and so you know I don't think I'm perfect. I was also not the best roommate in the world, okay? I had times where I was not a great listener. I had times where I said the wrong thing, gave bad advice, all the things. I definitely went through this like plant-based phase where I literally was only eating like raw fruits and vegetables because I watched a YouTube video. We all have to go through that time in, you know, young years. I'm sure my roommates didn't love having a million fruits and vegetables all over the place. I'm sure they didn't love that and they thought it was annoying. The reality is we've all been a weird roommate. We've all done weird stuff living with other people. The reality is living with people in a high stress environment, which can sometimes be college during finals week, is a challenge. And it's a time where you really dig deep and learn about yourself, and you might learn things you don't like. I definitely did. I learned things that I wanted to change, and I met people I didn't want to be like, and I saw things in myself I didn't like. So I'm just gonna preface saying I'm not perfect. You don't need to let me know. And now we're just gonna have some good old-fashioned fun and listen to some crazy roommate stories. Okay, let's keep in mind that I actually love most of the people these stories are about, so I love and care for each of them.
Some of them, no.
But most of them I actually still care about and still am in contact with, but these are just funny stories that happened and we can laugh about now. Maybe not with them, but I can laugh about them now looking back. All right, so we're gonna start with the classic. Oh my gosh, we have to start with this one. So part of living away from home is you learn things that can and cannot go down the sink. Let's just start there. Okay, so one time I had this roommate, and honestly, she seemed pretty smart. She had a very motherly personality. She was very sweet. However, one time she made rice, and she made a lot of rice. She didn't eat the rice that she made and had it all stored in a Tupperware container. And I guess to dispose it, she decided to put it down the drain. I guess probably our trash can was overflowing because nobody took it out and just kept stacking stuff on top of each other. So she was like, okay, I can't throw it on the trash can. I don't know. I'm trying to put myself in her frame of mind. Anyways, so she decides to put it down the drain, which over the next few days, we proceeded to wonder why the drain was clogged. If you have never lived away from home, or if your mom or dad have never taught you this, you can't put expandables down the drain. Let's just say you can't put things like noodles down the drain, and you can't put rice down the drain. The garbage disposal will not take care of that for you because they expand with water. So they get bigger and it creates a huge problem. So anyways, we had to call somebody to come and fix this situation. And of course, I was the only one home at the time. It was like the afternoon. I didn't have classes that day or that afternoon. So I was home for the guy to come fix the sink, and I was not the culprit, but looking back, he might have thought I was. So anyways, he was fixing the sink, and none of us had any idea like what had gone on. We didn't see her put the rice down. She just did it, and we found out later who it was. But the guy fixing the drain, he like looks in the drain, he goes to like pull stuff out, and he just is finding all this rice. And I'm like, oh, he's like, yeah, it looks like you have rice in your drain, so I'm gonna have to pull it out. I was like, okay, like I didn't do it, but thank you for fixing our sink. So anyways, I walked to the other room because I didn't want to be, you know, watching him pour nasty stuff out of the sink. So anyways, he comes back into the other room after he's done, and he's like, looks like he's just seen a ghost. Like he looks in shock, and like that's not a good sign when it's, you know, some kind of repairman or somebody who does this for a living. You don't want them to look concerned, you know? You don't want to be the special case that causes the repairman to be shocked, to be shooketh. Anyways, he was clearly shooketh, and he just looks at me and he's just like, I'll never forget this. There was just so much rice. Like he was in shock that there was so much rice. And yeah, that guy thought I did it. To this day, he probably is telling his friends after work at dinner, this girl acted like she didn't put the rice down the sink, but I know it was her. And it wasn't me. I know who it was, but I'll never tell. Okay, speaking of roommates putting things down the sink, this one is an oldie but a goodie. So it was one of my late later years in college, and my mom was helping me move in, like, because she's great. I didn't actually know the roommates. Typically, I lived with roommates that I knew beforehand, but this year I decided to go full random. It was like one of my last years there, so I didn't have a lot of options. So I went random room, and this was my introduction to the new roommates I had. So I walk in, and there are a few other girls moving in with like parents and siblings and stuff. And me and my mom and one of the other roommates, who ended up being really cool, and her mom, they told us as we like were kind of moving in, they were like, hey, so like we've noticed that the sink is clogged. Just so you know, we've asked like someone to come inspect it. And we were like, okay. Like I had just gotten there. I was like, already the sink is clogged? Like we haven't even moved in yet. I was like, this is kind of wild. So that was just kind of up in the air. All right. So somebody comes to fix the sink finally. And I kid you not, he just pulls out like 5 peach pits from the sink and just like leaves them on this paper towel. Like he didn't even throw them away. He left them out as the evidence. Wait, what am I even doing? I don't want to talk to James. So he leaves these like 5 peach pits on a paper towel, and me and my roommate and our moms just kind of look at each other. We're like, okay, like who?
What idiot puts peach pits down the drain?
Well, now I know who did it, but yeah, so one of our roommates put peach pits down the drain in the sink, thinking that no one would ever use the garbage disposal, I guess. Yeah, those things don't get broken down by the garbage disposal. So that was, I mean, that's not the wildest story ever, but that was a pretty weird introduction to those roommates, and that was pretty descriptive of our entire semester together. Let's just say, feel free to comment below. I would love to read your comments about weird roommates you've had. I really want to read those. That same apartment with the peach pits, that same roommate also really loved artichokes and mayonnaise. She was really obsessed with artichokes and mayonnaise, to the point where I was kind of concerned, because I was like, artichokes are like, I understand if you like artichokes. I like a good artichoke dip as much as the next person. Like buying a pure artichoke, it takes a special kind of person to do that. Then dipping it in mayonnaise, okay, that's kind of gross, but you can eat whatever you want. Here's the thing that really kicked it off for me. She would always leave her plates of mayonnaise and artichoke leftovers on the counter for like 3 days, to the point where the mayonnaise would like turn pink. Like it would like not be correct. And I was like, I didn't even know mayonnaise could look like this. Anyways, that really grossed me out, because it was at the point where I couldn't just like hurry and throw it in the sink, you know, because then it like wouldn't come off. And I was like, I don't want to touch it, because then I feel responsible for it. So yeah, I mean, we've all had roommates that like never clean up after themselves. Like for example, I had this other roommate, the same apartment, dude. This apartment was a mess. Okay, she was much younger. She was very young. She didn't know, I think it was her first time living away from home. She was the youngest one in the apartment. Poor girl. She didn't know anything about hygiene, and nobody took her aside and explained to her how to be hygienic, but she would only eat pizza, like, and that's it. And then she would always be sick, and I felt bad for her, because she had like pizza boxes in her room. Like she would eat pizza and like leave it out, and yeah, it's just a whole situation. But anyways, she would always get sick because she had really poor hygiene, and she would like sneeze and like wipe her snot on the cupboards and like not wash her hands, to the point where we were all getting sick, suspiciously amount of sick, because like she would just she would be like coughing and sneezing all over the counters and like wipe it on them, and like I got sick so much that semester, and like it's so gross. When one person has poor hygiene, it honestly affects everyone. That really grossed me out, and I feel like I am a little bit of a germaphobe, so I kind of shudder thinking about that. Oh my gosh, there's so many things to enjoy about having roommates. One of them is hygiene and cleaning up after yourself. We've all had that. The other one is the passive aggressive roommate. Okay, one time I had this roommate for a while, and love her. Okay, we were pretty good friends, but like honestly, our friendship was ruined via text message about utilities. And tell me why this is capable of ruining a friendship, but she would send us like passive aggressive text messages, and like it was kind of a lot. She would suggest that maybe we should consider showering every other day to save money on water, because she didn't want our utilities to be expensive. One time she texted me and I was in class, and she said, sorry, did you mean to leave the oven light on? And like, okay, I'm typically a person that cleans up pretty well after myself. Like I like clean to the kitchen multiple times a week because I like it to be clean, and I prefer it to be clean, and I'm very clean in my own house too. So I'm not that kind of roommate. Anyways, it was annoying. She texted me and said, did you mean to leave the oven light on? I'm like in class, like on campus. I was like, no, I didn't mean to leave the oven light on. Instead of calling me out, like, could you not have just maybe turned it off for me this one time and I would have really appreciated it? But like, she would always let you know that she did it, or be like, FYI, you left the light on in our room, but I turned it off. And I was like, why do you even need to text that? Like, first of all, I left it on because you're at home. I was not about to turn the lights off on you. I mean, for sure, I forgot to turn things off sometimes. Like, she's the roommate that would turn all the lights off in the house when she left, but like, we were all home. So we would be like, okay, the world doesn't revolve around you, bro. Like, when you leave the house, we're still here. So I'm gonna turn the lights on again. We're not living in a house with the lights off, bro. Like, we want the lights on so we're not like sitting in darkness. Anyways, just stuff like that. She was very passive aggressive, but it got to the point where like she lost basically everyone as friends because she would just text us the most passive aggressive crap like that. And that group of roommates was actually not that bad, and people were pretty clean and considerate, and our utilities bill really wasn't that much, but I think she financially was just struggling, and that totally makes sense. Everyone in college, we were all like broke. We had nothing, but I think it's not worth losing a friendship for 5 cents, you know? And also, like, you can't suggest people shower every other day. That's weird. We all need to shower. Please shower. In fact, please shower every day. Also, I know this is like totally, maybe this is rude of me, but I had a roommate, like a roommate, because I shared a room for a long time. And I know the struggle is real. She decided mid-semester one time to take this volunteer shift at 4 a.m. And I was like,
Thank you for making that decision for us.
because she would go to bed at like 7 p.m. So I would like walk into the room and I'd have to be like really quiet because I'm very courteous of other people. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna wake her up or turn the lights on. But it was kind of annoying because like on this day every week I would get home from class at like 7 p.m. and she'd be asleep. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I would like leave the lights off, change really quietly. I was like, okay, I'll take a shower in the morning because I don't want to wake her up. And then her alarm would go off at like 3:30 and I didn't go to bed until like, it wasn't that late, like 11 to midnight. That's not super late. So her alarm would go off at 3:30 a.m. like once or twice a week, and it just started to make me like angry. There's something about sleep deprivation that like genuinely I would like a study done on the results of sleep deprivation and roommates getting along because I think they're highly correlated. Anyways, this venting session is really helping me get over my anger. Okay, I had a different roommate who, on the subject of cleaning, I mean, she would never clean up after herself. Like, it was kind of a joke. I don't understand like the mindset of the person who's like, did your mom just like pick up after you? Like, did your mom never say, hey, could you do your dishes? I mean, bro, like in my house, it was like, do your own dish, you know? Like in this roommate, she didn't know how to do that. Like, she seemed like a totally normal person. She was fun, nice to talk to, always had a boyfriend, but the girl didn't know how to do dishes. She would invite her boyfriend over and cook like this extravagant meal together, which was also kind of annoying because it was like, how are we all supposed to eat if you guys are using the kitchen every night? And it was kind of like, okay. Anyways, that was kind of weird, but whatever. But she would never clean up. Like, they would make like this 5-course meal and then she would literally leave like the leftover food in the pan sitting there on the stove like the next morning. I would come in and be like when is the appropriate time to start cleaning up after that roommate? Because they don't clean up after themselves. So you're like, I almost just want to start cleaning it up the night before because it's easier, but it would be rude, I feel like, to start cleaning up after them. Like, they would probably be like, I'll clean it, but they won't. So I had to wait until the next day when it was socially acceptable to clean up after her, and then it was like all crusted and dried, and I was like, what do I do with this leftover food? Like, throw it away? Like, I don't want to throw your food away. That seems weird. Anyways, she would always do that, and like there would be stacks of dishes, like all of the pans would have been used in our whole apartment, and we shared pans, like we shared cooking supplies in that apartment, so it was like even more rude. Anyways, we're still friends to this day, and I'm always like, I wonder if she does her dishes. On a different note, I am the kind of person that gets scared really easily, and I feel like there's always at least one, especially with like TikTok and stuff. I feel like people do a lot more pranks and try to scare people, but I think this was pre all of that. Like, this wasn't going on TikTok. I don't think any of us had TikTok, but we were literally trying to live our lives. I had one roommate who found pleasure in her soul by scaring the crap out of me. I would get home from class and I would be on edge because she would be hiding in a closet, in a bathroom, bathroom and scare me. And then that started to make me angry. As a person who gets scared really easily, it may be fun and funny for other people to watch, but after a certain amount of time, you start to get really angry. But unfortunately, I can't control my reflexes and I still get really scared, and I'm sure it's fun to watch. I started to feel somewhat threatened and unsafe in that apartment. And I didn't know how to broach the subject of this has crossed the line from being funny to the point where I'm scared to come home. Like, I don't feel safe. And then she would like start to film me getting scared and like show it to people, like show it to our friend groups and stuff. And I was like, this is embarrassing. Like, please don't show videos of me being scared at home, like looking like I just studied for 5 hours at 2 a.m. I don't think she would have liked it if I did that to her. I don't think that she did that maliciously. That part was probably my fault because I was a really bad communicator and I like didn't explain, like I was very scared of confrontation and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna say that bothers me. So I never said that it bothered me. She also did other things that were kind of weird. Like she would like take pictures of me while I was sleeping. This sounds so weird. Okay. And like videos. And then she would also show those to people. So then I started to be like, okay, I'm not okay with this. Like I feel violated. There's nothing more violating than thinking you're sleeping in the comfort of your own bed and realizing that other people have a picture of you sleeping. And like I do sleep talk quite a bit. And I think that's what really started. Like she would take a video of me sleep talking to show me. And I was almost like, I don't want to see this. You know how like a lot of people don't like recordings of their voice? They just don't want to listen to it because it like irks them. That's how I feel about me sleep talking. There's something really unnerving about seeing a video of you sleeping when you're totally unaware of and do not remember it happening at all. I don't want to see myself sleeping. But she would show these videos to me and then she found them so funny she started showing them to other people. And I was like, you know, you've kind of crossed a line here. I really don't want to be filmed while I'm sleeping and I don't want people to take pictures of me while I'm sleeping. I think she thought that I thought it was funny and so she was not doing it maliciously, but I did not find it funny. After a while, I really found it annoying and I ended up moving, so we're all good. One time I moved into my apartment and my roommate, who I did know, it was like move-in day and her boyfriend was like sitting on my bed when I walked into the room, which I'm like, okay, like I can see how yours gonna go. But like he was sitting on the bed, like cause we shared a room and she had already moved in the day before. And I was like, okay, like he was sitting on my bed and then like we were obviously moving my stuff in. Like I was with, I think my brother and my mom. And like we were setting stuff down on my side of the room and on my bed and like clearly like trying to set up my stuff and he wasn't moving. Like he was no clue, very clueless. So I was like, okay. So me and my mom, I think we like went out and like got some lunch and we were just laughing. We were like, how clueless, bro. Like that's ridiculous. That was kind of a fun like welcome to the room tour. I swear if I had made that bed in the room at the time, I probably would have had to make it with him under the sheets. Like he was not leaving my bed. I was like, this is strange and uncomfortable. I mean, I am very like private and like I don't really want your boyfriend in my personal space. That's an opinion thing, but I don't know. Maybe other people would be like, Rose, you need to chill. I don't know, man. I just didn't know him yet. I'd never met him, so I was like not really wanting him to sit on my bed very much, but maybe that's just me. Okay, I had also a roommate on Sink Stories. We shared a room and a bathroom, and like the way the rooms were set up, it was like 2 beds and then there was like a bathroom inside the room. So like it was in the space of the room, but there was a door. So anyways, I would often walk into the bathroom like when I woke up, and this was the one that had the volunteer job at 4 a.m. So sometimes I would wake up and she'd be gone and I would like go to wash my face and I would find there were clothes in the sink. And this is an apartment that like it had freaking laundry machine and dryer and it was all set up, you know what I mean? And there was like a bunch of sinks. There was a kitchen sink, all kinds of sinks. No, like not only would she clean her clothes in the sink, she would leave them to soak in the sink. And I would wake up in the morning and be like, how am I supposed to brush my teeth and wash my face? I never said a single thing about it because I'm not the kind of girl that's gonna say anything, but I'm gonna think about it and then put it on my YouTube channel years later. So anyways, I just thought that was kind of weird. Like I was like, why are you cleaning stuff in the sink? Like we don't do that here. Like use the laundry machine. And I understand like maybe if you have like a certain stain you want to like rinse out, that totally makes sense. But I think when you leave to go to class and it's morning and your roommate's not awake yet, consider the fact that maybe she has to wash her face, you know? Probably don't leave it there when you leave the house for hours. That's kind of strange. All these stories have been kind of fun and playful, but this one kind of like was where I drew the line, and I actually did say something. All of these situations, you will be surprised to know, or maybe you won't be surprised. I never said a single thing about any of these things. I never talked to the person, never talked to the culprit. I always never said a single thing. I never did. I was very passive, not even passive aggressive. I was passive. Like I would just clean after them and never say a word. And I don't think that that's the way to be. I think communication, I've learned some communication skills since then, and I'm still learning. But this one was where I kind of drew the line. So there was this cute guy that we were friends with, and all of my roommates were like, oh my gosh, like you guys are so cute together. Like, and I had expressed that I was interested in this person who was my crush, you could say. And my roommates were all like, oh my gosh, you guys would be so perfect together. We need to set you up. And like my roommate was like, I'm gonna try and like set you up with this guy. And I was like, okay, great. Cause I was kind of shy. So we're at this like event and we're standing in a line for food with this guy and my roommate and me. And she literally, I like don't even understand how in her mind like this worked, but in like the context of like her having said that I should go out with this guy and like me saying like, yeah, I like this guy, he's my crush. She literally asked him out in front of me. She said, hey, like you like this, we should go together. Like she asked him out in front of me. And I was like, oh, okay. Would have been fine if she didn't know, but like I thought it was kind of weird because like she knew that he was my crush, and so I thought it was weird that like she kind of like all of a sudden went out with him. But like she was kind of a weird roommate because have you ever had like the roommates that are like way too attached to you to the point where it's like unhealthy? Like she was kind of the type of roommate, like she would kind of like copy me. Like she would do everything that I did or like that I wanted to do. All of my friends suddenly became her friends. Like she didn't know how to have her own life. Like she would definitely kind of copy everything I did, which kind of was weird to me because I'm not really the kind of person that you would want to model your life off of. I'm like a pretty chill, quiet to themselves type of person. So this was just another layer of that I was uncomfortable with. And like later on, she also like threw a fit when I like moved out for a different school. She like said like, I don't know how I'll survive without you. And I was like, I feel uncomfortable. Like this is not okay. But this was where I drew the line when she asked out my crush in front of me. I was like, you know, I'm not actually cool with this. I feel like this is kind of uncool behavior. Maybe it's my fault for not taking initiative, I guess. Anyways, so that was really uncool and that happened. I was proud of myself. I stood up for myself and I talked to her after and I said, hey, like I just thought it was kind of uncool. Our friendship's important. Just a heads up, it is kind of uncool. Oh my gosh, I'm tweaking. There was a huge gust of wind outside of my window and I was like, is this a lightning storm? Like what's going on? Anyways, I just got so scared. Anyways, I kind of like stood up for myself and I was like, okay, like you should be able to ask out whoever you want. And if he likes you, that's totally fine. However, I did think it was kind of uncool that you decided to ask him out in front of me after you had been saying you were gonna try and set us up. But it was just an example of like, she wanted to be me. And I'm not even like saying that to be vain. Like she genuinely, it was kind of weird. I was like, she like even wanted to go out with the guy I had a crush on. I can say we're no longer friends, but that did happen. So it was kind of crazy. Okay, one time on the subject of utilities, sorry, these are not organized by category. They're just organized as I thought about them while I was laying in my bed, thinking about past roommates I've had. So we had this roommate decided to move out, and the way it worked was we all bought a contract. There was like 5 people in our townhouse, and as long as you had the contract, you were responsible for paying utilities. If you sold your contract, that person would then pay utilities. So this roommate decides she's gonna move out, which is great. It's like, okay, cool, find someone to buy your contract. It was pretty easy to do. Like you could easily, someone would buy you out of your contract and we would get a new roommate. Anyways, she doesn't get a new roommate. And in fact, she comes back to the house like sometimes for the night. Like it wasn't like she wasn't living there yet. But she like kind of moves out, but like is still hasn't sold her contract and nobody else has moved in. Like, okay, so we usually split our utilities by 5, however many people lived there. And I was the person that was like in charge of texting people and saying, hey, like this is how much utilities everyone owes, and everyone always paid it. She decided that she was no longer going to be paying the utilities because she had moved out. She sent us this text. She was basically like, I just don't think I'm responsible to be paying for your excessive uses of waters. And so here's the thing. First of all, are staying here sometimes, so you're using the water and you haven't sold your contract yet. So So she refused to pay utilities, so I ended up paying hers as well. That was fun. That was a really fun time. Okay, those are all the roommate stories I think that I could think of for the current moment. I have so many more roommate stories. I'm gonna have to write more down and think of them, but this is all for now. Hopefully you guys enjoy listening to my roommate stories with me. I sure enjoyed reminiscing, and also in telling some of these stories, I'm laughing at the way I reacted to some of these things are so funny because I would do it so differently now. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Bye.
I'm on thin ice, you'd never guess. I've been hiding a monster, keeping it quiet. I do my best.